Good evening, or perhaps good morning, depending on when you've joined us. Wherever you are, I invite you to settle in. Let your shoulders rest, your breath slow, and your thoughts grow quiet. This is a space for calm reflection, a journey into the small, forgotten details of history. Tonight, we will wander together into the gentle rhythm of a Roman laundry house. Before we begin, I'd love for you to share in the comments. Where are you watching from tonight, and what time is it for you? It's always fascinating to know how many different corners of the world we gather from, each of us seeking the same calm pause from the rush of our days. Now, let us step softly into the ancient streets of Rome. Imagine the cool stone beneath your feet, the hush of dawn before the city awakens, and the promise of a slow day spent in the quiet care of linen, water, and human hands. The day begins early in the Roman fullonica, the laundry house. The sky is still painted with the pale hues of morning, lavender fading into the faintest gold, a light mist curling around the edges of tiled rooftops. The streets are hushed, save for the faint echo of footsteps on stone and the occasional clatter of a wooden door opening. A fullonica is not grand or imposing. It is, in many ways, humble. A cluster of stone basins arranged in neat rows, low walls enclosing courtyards, and channels carved carefully to guide water from nearby aqueducts or wells. From the outside, it is easy to pass by without a second glance. Yet within these walls, an entire rhythm of daily life unfolds, one that touches nearly every household in Rome. As the sun rises, the first workers arrive. They are not dressed in fine garments, but in simple tunics, coarse and practical. Many are freedmen or slaves, their names rarely written into the records of history. Yet their work is essential, quietly binding together the lives of senators and shopkeepers, innkeepers and artisans, mothers and children. The laundry must be done, and it is here, in these stone courtyards, that the garments of an empire are cared for. Imagine for a moment standing at the entrance. A faint scent of damp stone mingles with the earthy aroma of fuller's clay stacked in small clay jars nearby. You hear the soft murmur of water trickling through channels, the occasional creak of wood as a paddle is set aside, the whisper of cloth brushed against basin walls. The morning is not hurried, not yet. The day stretches long ahead, and the rhythm is unhurried, deliberate, steady. The fullonica itself is arranged with care. At its heart lies a series of shallow basins, sunken into the ground, their stone rims worn smooth from countless hours of work. Some basins are narrow, designed for soaking garments, while others are broader, where multiple workers can stand and tread linen with their feet. Channels carved into the stone guide water into these basins. Some come directly from the aqueducts, delivering fresh water, while others drain away used water toward the sewers. Clay jars filled with fuller's earth sit neatly along the edges, each marked by the fingerprints of those who lift them daily. In one corner, there may be vats reserved for more unusual treatments, including the soaking of cloth and urine, a method both practical and, to our modern sensibilities, surprising. But in this early hour, those vats remain still. The first tasks are simpler: soaking, scrubbing, preparing the linen for the day ahead. Families, inns, and even bathhouses send their laundry here. In the morning light, baskets arrive, carried by servants or apprentices, each stacked with tunics, cloaks, bedding, or towels from the public baths. Some are finely woven linens, soft and carefully hemmed. Others are coarse cloth, work garments stained with oil or dust. The workers receive them with quiet familiarity. They do not keep detailed ledgers here. Instead, many rely on memory and verbal agreement. A tunic from the baker's family, bedding from the inn down the street, towels from the thermi, each piece placed gently into waiting piles, sorted not only by owner, but also by the kind of care required. To watch the process is to notice how communal it is. No one hurries. The day has just begun. The workers exchange a few quiet words, perhaps a soft laugh. Then the basins fill slowly with water, and the first garments are submerged. There is a stillness in these first hours that is unlike any other time of day. The streets outside remain quiet, the clamor of carts and vendors not yet begun. Inside the fullonica, only the gentle sounds of water and fabric fill the air. The garments, now heavy with water, sink slowly into the basins. Workers lean over, hands pressing them down, the cool touch of stone beneath their fingers. They stir the cloth gently, coaxing dust and oil to loosen. Fuller's earth, that soft, fine clay, is sprinkled onto the most soiled areas, rubbed carefully in with fingertips. The pace is unhurried. Each motion has been performed countless times before, a steady ritual rather than a chore. One worker hums softly, a tune without urgency, a melody that blends with the soft splash of water. As we linger here, it is worth pausing to reflect on the people who begin their day in this place. Their names are not written in marble. We do not know their personal stories in detail. Yet their work was essential, not grand or celebrated, but deeply human. Some were freedmen, once enslaved, now working for wages. Others remained bound in servitude, their labor not their own. Yet within the rhythm of the laundry, they found a kind of constancy. The work was repetitive, yes, but familiar. Each day unfolding much like the one before, with its own quiet comforts. And so, as the first hour passes, the basins are filled, the garments are soaking, and the fullonica awakens fully to the day ahead. This is the dawn of the Roman laundry house, a place not of spectacle, but of gentle routine. A place where water, stone, clay, and fabric met in the quiet service of daily life. As the morning settles in, the work of washing begins in earnest. The basins, now filled with water, take on a faint shimmer beneath the rising sun. The air is cooler than it will be later in the day, carrying with it the earthy scent of damp stone and clay. This is the heart of the day's labor, the washing of linen, a task both ordinary and essential. Let us step closer and see how the Romans carried out this daily ritual. A worker lifts a tunic from the waiting pile, its fabric coarse from many months of wear. He lowers it slowly into the basin, the cloth darkening as the water soaks in. With both hands, he presses it down, coaxing bubbles of trapped air to rise to the surface. The water feels cool against the skin, carrying with it the faint dust of fuller's earth. The clay has been sprinkled carefully onto the fabric, clinging to the fibers, ready to absorb oils and stains. It is a process of patience. There are no harsh soaps here, no quick solutions, only the gentle persistence of water, earth, and human hands. Fuller's earth, known to the Romans as creta fullonica, was prized for its ability to draw out impurities. It did not froth or foam, but worked quietly, binding to grease and dust, carrying them away as the garment was rinsed again and again. Once the cloth is fully soaked, the rhythm of scrubbing begins. Not the harsh scrubbing we might imagine, but a slow, steady pressing and rubbing of fabric against stone, or with the flat side of a paddle. The motion is circular, deliberate, unhurried. The worker bends over the basin, his tunic dampened at the edges from the splashing water. His arms move with practiced ease, not rushing, for haste would only wear down the cloth. Instead, each stroke is measured, coaxing away the soil of daily life. It is easy to lose track of time here. The mind wanders as the hands work. Perhaps the worker thinks of his family, of errands to be run later, of the meal that awaits at midday. The water ripples softly with each movement, catching the light like liquid glass. In some larger basins, the work is done not with hands, but with feet. Several workers stand side by side, garments spread beneath them, and they tread rhythmically, pressing the linen underfoot. The motion is gentle, almost like a slow dance, each step carefully placed. The sensation of cool water rising around the ankles, the softness of fabric shifting beneath the solace, the faint squelch of clay as it mingles with water, all combine into a strangely meditative task. To watch them is to see a quiet choreography, a harmony of human effort and simple necessity. The workers speak little as they tread. Their movements themselves are the conversation, a shared rhythm understood without words. Not every garment is the same. Some tunics are finely woven, belonging to wealthier citizens, their linen soft and thin. Others are coarser, the kind worn by laborers and soldiers. Each requires a different touch. For stains of oil or wine, fuller's earth is worked more firmly into the weave. For dust and dirt, repeated rinsing suffices. The workers know these differences by sight, by the way the fabric feels in their hands. No instruction manuals are needed. Only the wisdom of repetition passed quietly from one generation of launderers to the next. The fullonica is not loud. Instead, it is filled with the gentle sounds of work, the soft slap of wet cloth against stone, the quiet trickle of water from a channel into a waiting basin, the muted scrape of a wooden paddle. There are voices, yes, low and calm, a question asked, a reply given, a soft chuckle at some passing remark. But for the most part, the sounds of water and cloth are the true language of this place. They rise and fall like a tide, soothing in their constancy. Hours may pass like this, unnoticed, the sun rising slowly higher in the sky, while the rhythm of washing continues unchanged. Though the pace is slow, the work is not without effort. The bending, lifting, pressing, repeated endlessly, takes its toll on the body. Backs grow sore, hands roughen, shoulders ache. Yet the workers carry on, their motions so practiced that fatigue becomes simply part of the rhythm. There are no holidays from laundry, no weeks of rest. The garments of Rome must always be cleaned, and the workers of the fullonica remain constant, their lives woven into the fabric of the city as surely as the linen they wash. Every so often, a pause. A worker straightens, stretches, and leans back against the stone rim of a basin. He takes a sip of water from a small clay cup, cool and refreshing after the damp labor. Others pause briefly too, exchanging a quiet word, perhaps a smile. The laundry waits patiently. The garments are not going anywhere, and so these brief pauses become part of the day's rhythm, gentle interruptions like rests in a piece of music. As the morning deepens, the basins fill and empty, garments soaking and being lifted, rinsed, and prepared for drying. The workers' tunics cling damply to their bodies, but they pay it little mind. This is simply the nature of their craft. One by one, piles of linen diminish as garments move on to the next stage. The air is now filled with the mingled scents of water, clay, and sun-warmed stone. It is not unpleasant, earthy, clean, simple. And so the washing continues, hour after hour, without haste and without end. The basins will see hundreds of garments before the day is done, each cared for in its turn, each treated with quiet patience. This is the heart of the Roman laundry, not dramatic or hurried, but steady, deliberate, and deeply human. A simple service carried out with hands and feet, water and clay, in the unbroken rhythm of daily life. As the morning matures and the sun climbs higher, the work within the fullonica shifts from washing to rinsing. What began in the cool stillness of dawn now continues beneath a gentle warmth, the air filled with the mingled scents of wet stone, fuller's earth, and fresh water. The stage is not hurried. Like every step of Roman laundry, it unfolds with patience and quiet persistence. The garments, now freed from much of their soil, are given over to clear water. They are rinsed, whitened, and prepared for the long, slow process of drying beneath the open sky. Water is drawn from channels fed by Rome's remarkable aqueducts. It enters the rinsing basins in a quiet stream, cool and clear, spilling gently across the stone. Workers guide the garments into this water, kneeling at the edges of the basins. The sound is soothing, a steady trickle, a soft splash as cloth meets water. Unlike the heavier washing basins, the rinsing pools are often shallower, designed for repeated immersions. Each garment is dipped again and again, folded and unfolded, pressed gently beneath the surface, then lifted slowly into the sunlight. The water beads and runs down the fabric, carrying with it the remnants of clay, dust, and sweat. It is a cleansing both physical and symbolic, the renewal of cloth, restored to freshness for another cycle of use. The workers treat each garment with a quiet attentiveness. A tunic belonging to a senator is handled with the same deliberate care as one belonging to a merchant's apprentice. To them, every piece of cloth carries weight, not in grandeur, but in necessity. Clothing was not easily replaced. Each tunic, each sheet, each towel represented the labor of many hands: the flax grower, the spinner, the weaver, and now the fuller. The act of rinsing is not harsh. It is almost tender, the gentle folding, the pressing out of water, the lifting and laying out. One might imagine the garment sighing in relief as the dust of many days is drawn away. The sound of linen being wrung is soft, almost musical. The workers twist the cloth slowly, pressing out excess water. Droplets fall in a steady rhythm into the basin below, joining the faint chorus of flowing channels. There is something hypnotic about this soundscape. The steady drip, the hush of fabric sliding against itself, the occasional soft thump as a damp tunic is laid aside. These are not the sounds of labor and haste. They are the sounds of care, repeated endlessly, forming the heartbeat of the fullonica. Once rinsed, the garments are carried into the drying courtyard. Here, ropes are stretched between wooden poles or across the open span of the courtyard itself. The workers hang the cloth carefully, spacing each piece to allow the air to flow between them. The courtyard is alive with pale fabric, tunics, cloaks, sheets, towels, each moving gently in the breeze. Sunlight filters across the linen, painting them with shifting patterns of light and shadow. The garments sway like sails on a still sea, quiet and graceful. Each garment is smoothed as it is hung, its folds adjusted to allow the sun and air to reach every surface. This care prevents mildew, keeps the cloth fresh, and ensures that the drying is even. Nothing is rushed. The workers move from one rope to the next, their motion slow and deliberate, as though they are tending to something more fragile than mere cloth. The atmosphere here is calm and almost meditative. The faint flapping of cloth in the breeze blends with the distant murmur of voices. Occasionally, the faint scent of olive oil soap lingers, though more often, the air carries only the clean smell of sun-warmed linen. The courtyard becomes a place of quiet beauty. Even those who work here daily, their hands rough and shoulders weary, must sometimes feel the stillness of this space. To look across the rows of white linen swaying softly in the sunlight is to see order, cleanliness, and a kind of simple peace. The sun is an essential partner in this work. Its warmth dries the fabric gradually, lifting away the last traces of moisture. The air, too, plays its part, a soft breeze carrying dampness away, leaving the cloth crisp and light. The workers know to shift garments if the shade grows too deep, or to spread them more thinly if the air grows still. Their knowledge is not written in manuals, but in practice, learned through years of watching the sky, the wind, and the behavior of cloth. The courtyard is not silent. As the garments dry, workers find moments to speak softly with one another. A comment about the weather, a story from a neighbor, a laugh at some small memory. These conversations are gentle, never loud enough to disturb the calm rhythm of the work. Children sometimes linger at the edges, sent to deliver or collect laundry. They watch with curious eyes as the garments sway, their laughter hushed by the serene atmosphere. For them, the fullonica is a place of mystery, the steady labor of adults turning soiled garments into fresh, clean cloth. Drying is not quick, it takes hours. The workers check occasionally, pressing the fabric lightly between their fingers, feeling for dampness. If the sun is strong, the garments may be ready by late afternoon. If clouds linger, the process stretches longer. There is no impatience here. The laundry will be ready when the elements decide. In the meantime, the workers continue their routines, tending to other garments, preparing the basins for the next cycle, or simply pausing in the courtyard's quiet shade. To watch linen drying in the Roman sun is to witness a simple beauty. The cloth moves softly, edges lifting and falling, light passing through the weave in shifting patterns. It is a sight that carries no urgency, no drama, only the quiet assurance that the work is being done, that life continues in its steady rhythm. For the workers, it may be routine. For us, watching across the centuries, it becomes almost poetic, a dance of fabric, air, and light, repeating as it has countless times before. And so, as the afternoon stretches on, the garments slowly lighten. Damp mist fades, leaving linen fresh and soft, ready for the final stages of care. The courtyard grows warm in the sun, shadows lengthening gently along the stone walls. This is rinsing and drying in the Roman world, not swift, not mechanical, but patient and human. A process of trust in water, air, and time. A reminder that even the simplest tasks, done with care, become part of the quiet fabric of daily life. As the afternoon settles over Rome, the fullonica turns to one of its most unusual, yet most essential practices. To us, it may seem surprising, even strange. Yet to the Romans, it was as ordinary as bread or wine. The whitening of garments often required more than water and clay. For stubborn stains, for cloth that needed brightening, the launderers turned to a substance both plentiful and, in their eyes, remarkably effective: human urine. Though it may seem peculiar from our modern view, in the Roman world, urine was a valuable resource. Its role in the laundry was practical, efficient, and accepted without hesitation. Urine was collected in large clay jars, often placed discreetly on street corners or near public latrines. Citizens would deposit their contributions as they passed. These jars were emptied regularly and brought to the fullonica. The practice was so widespread that, during the reign of Emperor Vespasian, a tax was even placed upon the collection of urine, a small levy on a substance that had become essential to the daily life of Rome. The emperor himself, when questioned about such a tax, is said to have remarked, "Pecunia non olet," money does not smell. And so, day by day, these jars were filled and carried into the courtyards of the launderers, where their contents were put to careful use. In urine, the Romans found a natural ally. Rich in ammonia, it possessed properties that made it remarkably effective at breaking down oils, lifting stains, and whitening fabrics. Though they lacked the chemical vocabulary we use today, their observations were keen. They knew, by long tradition, that soaking linen as liquid restored brightness that simple rinsing could not achieve. The garments most in need of this treatment were those stained with oils from cooking or ointments from the baths. Wine stains, too, yielded more easily to this process. The Romans did not regard the substance with disgust, but with the practicality of people who valued efficiency over sensibility. Within the fullonica, the urine was poured into large stone vats. The garments, already washed and rinsed, were lowered carefully into this solution. They were left to soak for hours, sometimes overnight, depending on the severity of the stains. Workers used wooden paddles to stir the cloth gently, ensuring that the liquid reached every fold of the fabric. The scent, while noticeable, was not regarded with the same distaste that we might feel. To the Romans, it was the smell of cleanliness and progress, the sign of linen being renewed. The motion was slow, patient. The garments rested in the vat as the liquid did its work, the ammonia breaking down the lingering oils and brightening the weave of the fabric. The workers remained nearby, adjusting garments, pressing them gently below the surface, then leaving them to rest again. In some fullonica, the vats were large enough for workers to enter barefoot, treading upon the garments, much as grapes were pressed in the making of wine. This pressing helped the liquid soak deeply into the fibers, ensuring an even treatment. Imagine the sensation, the cool, shallow liquid rising around the ankles, the soft press of fabric beneath the feet, the rhythmic steps echoing softly in the enclosed courtyard. Though the work was unusual by our standards, for them it was a daily ritual, carried out with quiet endurance. The soaking was not rushed. Hours passed as the garments rested, the air of the courtyard filled with the faint, earthy scent of the vats. The workers checked occasionally, lifting a sleeve or fold to see how the fabric fared. Meanwhile, other tasks continued. More garments were washed, rinsed, or hung in the drying courtyard. The fullonica was a place of constant, steady labor, each part of the process overlapping with the next, forming an unbroken chain of care. When the garments had soaked long enough, they were lifted from the vats, heavy with liquid. The workers carried them carefully to the rinsing basins, where clear water awaited. Here, the cloth was pressed and swirled, the liquid drawn away by fresh streams. This step was vital. No trace of the treatment was left behind. The water ran clear again and again until the linen was fresh, clean, and bright. The scent, once sharp, faded, leaving only the crisp fragrance of sun-dried cloth. The transformation was subtle yet remarkable. Stains that once seemed set into the fabric now faded, the linen restored to a brightness almost new. For the Romans, this was proof enough of the method's worth. In this practice, we see the practical mind of the Roman people. They were not guided by sentimentality, but by observation, tradition, and efficiency. If a substance worked, it was valued, no matter its origin. Urine was not waste to them, but a resource. Collected, taxed, and used, it formed part of the everyday rhythm of the city. And in the quiet courtyards of the fullonica, it played a humble but essential role. As the vats stood in the sun, the air of the fullonica was filled with the mingled scents of water, clay, stone, and the faint sharpness of ammonia. To the workers, it was the familiar smell of their trade, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, simply a part of life. The courtyard remained calm, voices low, footsteps measured, the slow sound of water moving from vat to basin. The city beyond bustled, but within these walls, the rhythm remained unhurried, steady, patient. And so, through the use of a most unexpected ally, the Romans kept their linen fresh and white. It was not glamorous work, nor work often celebrated, but it was necessary. In every garment that returned to its household, in every fresh tunic or sheet, the quiet labor of the fullonica could be felt, not seen, not praised, but woven into the daily life of an empire. This was the whitening with urine, a process both strange and deeply practical, carried out not in haste, but in the gentle, measured pace of a day in ancient Rome. As the afternoon wanes and the sun begins its slow descent, the work within the fullonica enters its final stages. The basins, once busy with the rhythm of washing and rinsing, now grow quiet. In the drying courtyard, garments sway softly, their dampness fading beneath the sun and the touch of the wind. It is time for the final inspection, a careful, unhurried review of each piece. This stage is not loud or bustling, but calm, deliberate, and attentive. Here, the launderers bring closure to their day's labor, ensuring that each garment is clean, bright, and ready to be returned to its household. One by one, the garments are lifted from the ropes. Their weight is lighter now, the dampness gone, replaced with the airy crispness of sun-dried linen. Workers fold them gently over their arms, carrying them back to the inspection tables. The courtyard, once alive with the gentle flapping of cloth, now grows barer as each piece is removed. Shadows lengthen across the stone walls. The soundscape changes too, less of wind-touched linen, more of quiet footsteps and the faint rustle of cloth being gathered. The workers handle each garment with a kind of respect. This is not simply fabric, but a possession of value. To a Roman family, a tunic was no small thing. Garments were expensive, requiring labor from field to loom, from dyer to fuller. To hold one in hand was to hold the result of many lives of work. The inspection takes place at long wooden tables, worn smooth from years of use. The workers spread each garment across the surface, running their hands slowly along the fabric, searching for stains, missed spots, or lingering dampness. The motion is patient and unhurried. A sleeve is lifted to the light, the weave examined carefully. If a mark is found, the garment may return briefly to the basin for one last rinsing. If a fold feels damp, it is hung once more to catch the remaining warmth of the sun. The sunlight itself becomes a tool of inspection. Held against its glow, the linen revealed spots too faint to see in shade. In this quiet ritual, the workers confirm that the cloth is truly ready to return. Once approved, the garments are smoothed carefully by hand. Creases are coaxed into place, edges aligned, folds pressed with gentle precision. There is no iron, no pressing stone here, only the careful smoothing of human hands, the weight of the fold itself holding the fabric in order. The folding is deliberate. Tunics are laid flat, folded into thirds or quarters, then stacked neatly. Sheets and larger cloths are rolled or folded lengthwise, placed in tidy bundles. Each piece becomes part of an orderly pile, the chaos of washing and soaking transformed into calm stacks of pale linen. The touch is gentle. One worker smooths the fabric with the side of his hand, pressing out faint wrinkles, then folds it over carefully, the edges meeting in a straight line. Another stacks the finished garments, aligning the piles so that they rest evenly, their surfaces soft and inviting. The courtyard is quieter now than at any other time of day. The basins stand still, the channels dry, the ropes mostly empty. Only the rustle of folding cloth and the low murmur of voices remain. The sun, low in the sky, casts a warm glow across the stone walls. Shadows stretch, their edges soft. The air is cooler, carrying with it the faint fragrance of linen warmed all day by the sun. It is a fragrance not of perfumes, but of purity, clean cloth, stone, and air. Sometimes a final touch is required. A faint mark may be dabbed with fuller's earth once more, the powder brushed lightly into the fabric. A thread pulled loose is tucked gently back into place. A fold adjusted, a corner smoothed. These details may seem small, yet they are the difference between ordinary care and true attention. The workers of the fullonica knew that their reputation rested on these finishing touches. Families trusted them to return garments not only cleaner, but fresher, brighter, renewed. As the inspection draws to a close, the garments are gathered into baskets. Each pile, once a stack of soiled tunics and sheets, is now a bundle of freshness, folded with care and ready to return to its household. Servants or apprentices arrive to collect them, greeting the workers with quiet thanks. The bundles are carried away through the evening streets of Rome, each returning to a family, an inn, a bathhouse. The fullonica empties slowly, the day's work nearly done. To us, laundry may seem a small thing, yet in the Roman world, it was a mark of dignity and order. Clean garments were a sign of care, for oneself, for one's family, for one's place in the community. The launderers of the fullonica, though rarely named in history, carried a responsibility that touched every level of society. Their labor was humble, but it sustained the daily life of Rome as surely as bread, water, and fire. And so, with the folding complete and the garments returned, the fullonica grows quiet once more. The basins, the ropes, the tables all stand ready for tomorrow's work. For today, the cycle is complete, from soiled garments at dawn to clean, folded linen at dusk. It is a cycle as steady as the turning of the sun, a rhythm both ordinary and profound. This was the final inspection and folding in the Roman laundry, not hurried, not glamorous, but essential. A closing act of care, marking the gentle end of a day in ancient Rome. Though the fullonica was a place of steady labor, it was also, in its own quiet way, a place of connection. Just as modern laundries and wash houses have long been centers of neighborhood life, the Roman laundry was more than a place of work. It was a place where people crossed paths, exchanged words, and wove their own stories into the fabric of the city. The daily rhythm of washing, rinsing, and folding created not only clean garments, but moments of community, trust, and human connection. Throughout the day, neighbors and clients came and went, carrying bundles of linen and woven baskets. Some arrived early, delivering soiled tunics to be cleaned. Others came later, returning to collect their garments, now fresh and neatly folded. Conversations often bloomed in these moments. A housewife pausing to speak with the fuller about her family. A servant exchanging a few words while waiting for a bundle to be checked. Even brief greetings became part of the daily hum of the place. The fullonica stood as a thread woven through the neighborhood, linking homes and families through the simple act of laundry. These exchanges were rarely hurried. The pace of the laundry allowed for a kind of calmness, a pause in the day's busyness, where one could stand in the shade of the courtyard wall and share a word before moving on. Among the workers themselves, companionship was quietly present. The labor was repetitive, the hours long, and so words passed between them softened the weight of the day. A shared story, a gentle joke, the memory of a festival or a childhood game. These conversations carried no urgency, but they gave warmth to the work. Some workers may have been related, others neighbors, others newly arrived to the city seeking a trade. Together, they formed a small community within the larger one, bound not by wealth or status, but by the steady rhythm of shared labor. Often, no words were needed at all. The act of working side by side, of folding cloth in unison, of lifting a heavy garment together, created a quiet understanding, a fellowship born from routine. Children, too, found their way to the fullonica. Some were sent on errands, carrying small bundles for their families. Others lingered at the gates, curious about the basins and the rows of swaying linen. For a child, the fullonica was a place of fascination, the soft splash of water, the sight of garments dancing in the breeze, the steady steps of workers pressing cloth beneath their feet. Sometimes, a kindly worker might allow a child to help fold a small towel, or to watch closely as a garment was smoothed and hung. In this way, the next generation absorbed the rhythms of the trade, not through instruction, but through simple presence. The fullones, or launderers, held a curious place in Roman society. They were not wealthy, nor often celebrated, yet their work was indispensable. Clean garments were a visible sign of respectability, and so the reputation of a fuller mattered greatly. Clients trusted those whose care was consistent, whose work left linen fresh, bright, and neatly folded. A fuller known for diligence might find steady business for years. His name passed quietly from one household to another. In this way, trust and reputation became part of the fabric of the fullonica itself, woven into every folded tunic that passed through its gates. The laundry became a place where stories traveled, news of a festival planned for the coming week, word of a new merchant arriving in the market, rumors of politics, of distant battles, or of changes in the city's laws. Though the fullonica itself was humble, it was part of the larger flow of Roman life. Those who came here did not only bring garments, they brought stories, laughter, and the quiet murmur of a community keeping itself connected. As the day drew to a close, the courtyard of the fullonica grew calm. The ropes hung empty, the basins still, the tables neat with folded stacks ready for delivery. Workers lingered in quiet conversation, speaking softly in the golden light. Clients collected their last bundles. Children hurried home with small packages under their arms. The gate stood open a little longer, welcoming the final visitors of the day. And then slowly, the fullonica settled into stillness, ready to rest until dawn brought another cycle of washing, rinsing, and folding. In the end, the fullonica was not only about cloth. It was about people, about neighbors who greeted one another in the shade of its doorway, about workers who shared stories over the basins, about children who carried home bundles of linen, proud to help their families. The fullonica was a humble place, but it was woven into the life of the city as surely as any temple or market. Its basins and ropes, its workers and clients, formed a quiet community, a reminder that history is not only the story of emperors and battles, but of the daily rhythms that shape the lives of ordinary people. And so the social side of the fullonica reveals itself, not loud, not grand, but steady and human. In its quiet labor and gentle connections, it held a place in the hearts of those who lived nearby, linking them through the simple act of laundry. The basins will fill again tomorrow. The ropes will sway once more with fresh linen, and the quiet conversations of workers and neighbors will continue, as they always have, in the gentle rhythm of Roman life. And now, as the twilight settles gently over the city of Rome, our journey through the fullonica draws to an end. The day's work is complete. The garments, once soiled and heavy with dust, now rest clean, folded, and ready to return to the households from which they came. The courtyard, once alive with motion and sound, lies quiet. Only the faint rustle of evening air moves through the empty ropes, where earlier the linen swayed like sails in the sun. The basins stand still, their water drained, their stones damp and cooling in the night air. It is a moment of stillness, the kind of quiet that lingers not only in places, but in memory. In the span of a single day, the fullonica has witnessed a cycle repeated countless times through the centuries. The dawn arrival of garments, the careful washing, the soaking and whitening, the rinsing, the drying, the inspection, and finally, the folding. Each step, taken slowly, with patience and care, brought the fabric from weariness back to freshness. The rhythm of the work was steady, like the turning of the sun above the city. And just as surely as the sun will rise again tomorrow, the basins will once more be filled, the garments once more tended, the cycle once more renewed. It may seem a small thing, the cleaning of clothes, the folding of linen, and yet in these humble acts we glimpse the daily heartbeat of an ancient civilization. A tunic, once stained, now clean, allowed its wearer to walk with dignity through the streets. A sheet, once soiled, now fresh, offered a family rest at the end of a long day. These were not grand achievements carved into marble or written in history's scrolls, but they were essential. They gave comfort, respectability, and order to lives lived quietly, far from the palaces of emperors. As we reflect on this day, let us remember the workers themselves. Their names are mostly lost to us. History seldom recorded the lives of fullers, of washerwomen, of the humble laborers whose hands touched every fold of cloth. And yet, without them, daily life in Rome would have been poorer, harsher, less dignified. Their work was unseen but indispensable. In the quiet of the courtyard, with the lanterns flickering and the city hushed, one can imagine them pausing, setting aside their labors, and finding a moment of rest, content that their work had been done well. The evening calm settles not only upon the stones of fullonica, but upon all who listen to its story. The faint fragrance of sun-dried linen lingers in the air, mingling with the earthy scent of stone cooling in the night. The sounds of the city grow softer now, the murmur of distant voices, the faint clatter of a cart, the hush of wind through narrow streets. It is a peaceful hour, one that invites reflection and rest. From the fullonica, we may learn a gentle lesson, that even the simplest tasks, done with patience and care, carry a quiet dignity. That history is not only the story of kings and battles, but of workers folding linen by hand, of neighbors exchanging words in the shade, of children peeking curiously at the basins. These are the threads that truly wove the life of Rome, soft, ordinary, and often unnoticed. Yet without them, the great tapestry of history would be incomplete. As the night deepens, the city of Rome itself grows calm. The Tiber flows steadily, its surface touched by the last glimmer of twilight. In homes across the city, families draw close, setting aside the day's labors. Fresh tunics are folded in chests, clean sheets spread across wooden beds. The fullonica stands quiet, its work done, its basins waiting for dawn. And the rhythm of daily life continues, gentle, steady, eternal. As the night settles fully upon the city of Rome, we linger a little longer in thought. The basins are silent, the ropes empty, and the courtyard lies in stillness. Yet the story of the day echoes quietly in our minds. There's no need for haste now. The world has slowed, and so shall we. Let us wander gently through reflections, allowing the images of the fullonica, the basins, the cloth, the people to rest with us like the soft light of the stars above. Water has been our companion throughout this day, from the first rinsing at dawn to the slow stirring of the whitening vats, to the clear streams that carried away the last traces of soil. Its presence was constant. In Rome, as in every civilization, water was life. It cleansed, refreshed, and renewed. The sound of it, soft splashes in the basins, trickles through the stone channels, was as calming to the ear then as it is to us now. Even in memory, we can hear it. The gentle rhythm of water against stone, the timeless music of cleansing. Cloth, too, has lingered with us. The feel of linen against the hands of the workers, the way it swayed in the breeze, the rustle as it was folded. In every society, fabric carries both necessity and meaning. It shelters us, warms us, adorns us, and accompanies us through the seasons of life. The Romans, though distant in time, felt the same quiet comfort and clean linen that we feel today. The simple act of smoothing a fold, of placing a garment neatly aside, was a gesture of care and of order. The fuller's labor was not celebrated in marble or song. Yet within the humble walls of the fullonica, there was dignity. Each step, treading, rinsing, folding, carried meaning, for it brought order from disorder, freshness from weariness. Perhaps this is the lesson we carry forward, that the worth of work lies not always in its grandeur, but in the quiet care with which it is done, and that even tasks unnoticed by history hold value beyond measure. Beyond the walls of the fullonica, the city itself continued. Inns prepared for travelers, bakeries tended the last embers of their ovens, families gathered in courtyards under the evening stars. The Tiber flowed on, steady and unhurried, reflecting the lanterns of bridges above it. The fullonica was but one thread in this vast tapestry, and yet, in its quiet courtyard, it reflected the rhythm of the entire city, steady labor by day, peaceful rest by night. Pause now if you wish. Imagine yourself standing within that courtyard. The air cool upon your skin, the scent of sun-dried linen still lingering faintly. The stones beneath your feet smooth from centuries of use. Above you, a sky scattered with stars. You are alone, yet not lonely, surrounded by the memory of the day's work, the quiet of evening, the gentle embrace of stillness. Here, there is nothing to do, nothing to hurry. Only to breathe, to rest, to be. Though the centuries have passed, the rhythm of laundry has never vanished. In every age, garments are washed, dried, folded, and laid aside with care. The tools may change, the methods may shift, but the heart of the task remains the same. In this, we find a quiet continuity. We share with the Romans not only great monuments or famous names, but the humble daily rituals that shape their lives as they shape ours. Folding a garment tonight, we may think of them not as distant figures of history, but as people who lived, worked, and cared in ways so familiar. And so we leave the Roman fullonica at rest, its stones cool beneath the stars, its ropes empty, its workers at home with their families. The story of a single day has unfolded, simple, humble, yet filled with meaning. As you rest now, may you carry with you the calm rhythm of this place. May the steady sounds of water, cloth, and wind ease you into sleep. And may you awaken refreshed as the garments of Rome once did, renewed by the care of gentle hands. Good night.